That final little moment at the end of this episode with Alan and Catarina was truly blessed, because it's like, I think he deserved it. I really think he deserved a moment like that after kind of not getting his time to be with Catarina within this episode. Like, Mary just closes the book real quick and he was not able to really play the piano with her. It kind of made me sad, honestly, because it's very clear after this episode, Alan, he doesn't really have any ulterior motive. The only thing that he really has with Catarina is kind of competition. He's competitive with her, he wants to be the best, etc., but he also just loves her company, and I really appreciate that little viewpoint on Alan within this episode. Like, we already kind of been presented it in previous episodes, but this episode really just lets you understand Alan as a character, and I think he's just truly underappreciated, honestly. Like, I think out of the entire cast of characters, like, putting aside jokes and everything, and, like, for instance, who Catarina potentially will be with at the end of the story, which most likely will either be, Gerald, or also, let's say, maybe, like, Maria, I do think that, when it comes to all the characters, Alan is probably the best. And the reason why I say that is because he doesn't have any ulterior motives. He legitimately just wants to spend time with her. He just wants her to hear his music because she enjoys it, and he enjoys being able to express his passion, the one thing that he knew that he was really good at that, his brother could not do. And I just think that it's a really good way to show his character, and that final sequence, he earned it. He really did, because, like, it wasn't him that actually set that up. It was Catarina. Catarina, we know she's dense. We know she's literally a black hole that just, like, sucks everything in because she's just so dense, but she kind of made that entire little romantic sequence at the end of this episode, because she just like, hey, take your shoes off, hey, climb the tree with me, hey, come here and look at, the sky and all that, look at the sun going down and all that, let's just spend some time together. And just the way they had that very intimate moment, it was just very beautiful, and I just think that Alan deserves her. Like, I would say that if there's any person I think would be best fit for Catarina, it would be him. But I don't think that's going to happen because, like, obviously the story is not going to be centered around that. It's going to probably be, like I said, with her with, Gerald or, Maria. That's the only two characters that I could potentially see her getting with. But, yeah, that's just my personal opinion after seeing this episode. So, anyways, let's talk about what this episode is about. So, sadly, we don't really get any more information on what that shadowy figure was in the previous episode, which is unfortunate, because we're reaching closer and closer to the conclusion of this anime season, and from what I know of, My Next Life as a Villainess is only going to have 12 episodes. Since we're like 7 or 8 episodes into the series, obviously we're going to be reaching closer to that climax point of at least the story for Season 1 if we do get a Season 2. So I'm willing to bet we're going to get a little bit more information on the shadowy figure, probably either next episode or the episode after that. But the point, though, is that this episode kind of backtracks a little bit and kind of lets everybody know what desires they really have for Catarina. Now, I think the audience knows. The audience, everybody who watches this series knows how everybody feels about Catarina. For instance, how all the characters are literally thirsting after her, wanting to be with her, etc. But the characters within the story don't truly understand their emotions completely. There's only certain individuals that really do. You have maybe Mary, and you have, like, someone like, Gerald, but all the other characters really don't have a full grasp on what they want from Catarina. And this episode kind of presents it to them, like, shoves it into their face to allow them to realize what they want from her, and is it possible. And honestly, after watching this episode, I feel a little bit bad for Gerald after this, because, like, he obviously has a lot of pent-up frustration, because when you think about his situation, his connection with Catarina, he is her fiance. So technically, he's supposed to marry her. And with everybody that's pretty much interacting with Catarina, all these people surrounding her, etc., he really hasn't made a lot of progress. He's technically still kind of like a friend instead of a fiance, or treated like a friend instead of a fiance with all these people around him. And you gotta admit, that would be a little bit frustrating. I mean, even if you don't like the said character, you don't want him to end up with Catarina, whatever, the point is, you gotta imagine from his perspective, it would be frustrating after all of these these years, you don't really make much progress after just, like, all these people being around, ruining your chances, getting in the way, and you're pretty much boated, like, put in the same boat as, like, all the others. Like, you know, you're a friend, etc. You're not really a fiancé. And I just think that that's a really unfortunate for the character, and I think that he kind of realized he had a lot of frustration, especially with his whole desire, literally wanting to be with her all night, just him and her, you know, drinking wine, etc. It was very apparent what he wanted, so I'm just like, yeah, I kind of understand why he would have those kind of emotions when you just think about his predicament and what he's been going through for years now. Now, when we move over to, you know, the brother, when we move over to, you know, Keith, you know, Catarina's stepbrother, he obviously, we know he has emotions for Catarina. It's apparent. All the characters do. But the way he goes about it is very interesting. He knows that he can't necessarily win over Sweets. Like, he knows that if it comes between who Catarina would pick, would it be Sweets or would it be, you know, him? Catarina probably would pick Sweets because she just loves her sweets, she loves her snacks, etc. So I find it interesting that his go-to desire, how he went about it, was to eat her sweets where there was nothing left for her, and so she would only be able to focus on him. It's actually interesting. Like, the way he used seduction to be able to get her to notice him. I think that's ingenious, honestly. It's a very unique twist, honestly, to kind of get her attention, because he was very self-aware he wouldn't be able to win if it was just Sweets and him there. Now, we move over to Sophia. Sophia, I'm a little bit conflicted about that, because, like, we were already straight up told in the previous episode that Sophia is definitely the childhood friend of Catarina from the other world, and she's just a reincarnation. Now, we don't really have the full grasp of everything. Like, we haven't had, like, the conversation of her and Catarina, and, you know, talking about the past, etc., or if they all fully remember everything going on. But the point, though, is that from everything that's been presented thus far, we know Sophia does love Catarina, but we also seen that she's willing to put her brother in front and, like, hey, you know, you could be with Catarina, I'm just happy to be, like, you know, her sister and all that, you know, be able to spend time with her. And I just think that the way she was very forceful, it's interesting. I was like, whoa, okay, she's actually going for what she wants, but I'm just like, I don't know, it kind of, everything that's been presented, she's more that type of character to be willing to take the step back and allow her brother to be with Catarina, and she just enjoys having a friend, a really good friend to be with. Now, we also have the character, which is Sophia's brother, which has the man is straight up Tuxedo Mask. Like, okay, like, let's not lie. He straight up dresses up like Tuxedo Mask from Sailor Moon, and, like, his entire antics to the background, jumping around between the buildings, I'm just like, look, I haven't watched a lot of Sailor Moon, but I wasn't born yesterday. I know about Sailor Moon. I know about Tuxedo Mask. I know the little things here and there. I know. And I'm just like, you're not going to tell me that his design literally isn't based off of Tuxedo Mask. And if it's not based off of Tuxedo Mask, it's based off of, like, you know, Phantom of the Opera. It's one of those two, honestly. But I'm willing to bet you it's probably Tuxedo Mask, because it's, you know, an anime, and, you know, Sailor Moon has really inspired a lot of series, and I could definitely see maybe the writer being a fan of Sailor Moon, so yeah, just it all links together. But yeah, he had a very different twist. Like, his entire personality was the exact opposite of how he was in real life. And I love how in his little dream sequence, like the desire, etc., you had all of these girls kind of like coming after him and all that, and he's like smiles to make them just drop on the ground, like, you know, with hearts in their eyes, while he grabs, you know, Catarina and runs off with her. I'm just like, wow, this man, he's really a lady killer. He thinks he is one and all that. And I'm just like, this man being Tuxedo Mask, he's running off with her. I'm just like, wow. But, yeah, this episode is very simple, though. Like, that's pretty much what it's about. It's about, like, our characters getting stuck within a book. Now, it's kind of fascinating, honestly, because it's kind of like a, you know, a visual novel within a visual novel in the real world. It's kind of like multi-layered isekai-ception, because, like, when you think about it, Catarina's been reincarnated into a game, and then they go into a book, which is pretty much a visual novel, and I'm just like, whoa, it's multi-layers. They're going, like, down the levels of hell right now, or, you know, a Sekai hell, just going slowly downward and downward, because that's kind of what happened within this episode, because going within that book was kind of like a self-aware joke, honestly, from what is going on within the story, because Catarina's technically within the game, and she's having to live this story, and she really can't change it because, you know, she's in this world now. She can't just, like, alter it and go back a save, etc., like she would do if she was still alive in, you know, her original life. But yeah, that's pretty much about it, though. So it's a good episode of, you know, My Next Life as a Villainess. I can't wait to watch more. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Be honest in the comments below. But I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.